savagery of Hamas terrorists continues in several parts of Israel, and the stories coming out of the war-torn nation are spine-chilling. From butchering innocents to taking many unarmed civilians hostage, the worst has now been confirmed by the IDF. Israel Defense Forces have confirmed that babies were butchered. Yes, that's the extent of Hamas's brutality. After reports and eyewitnesses, IDF has now said that babies were indeed beheaded by the savage terrorists.
And we got very, very disturbing reports of that came from the ground that there were babies that had been beheaded. And I admit it took us some time to really understand and to verify that report. And it was hard to believe that even Hamas could perform such a barbaric act. But after eyewitnesses came forward and after a senior official in the Israeli coronary service, Zaka, came forward on record on CBS News and said, yes, I saw the bodies of beheaded babies, I think we can now say with relative confidence that this is unfortunately what happened in Be'eri. This is what Hamas did to Israeli civilians.
And while in a strongly worded statement on Hamas's attack on Israel, especially with regards to this act of barbarism, Joe Biden, the US president, also called it an act of sheer evil. He added that he never really thought that he would see pictures of terrorists beheading children. Later, though, a White House official clarified that Biden did not actually see these images, but was referring to reports trickling in from Israel.
I never really thought that I would see and have confirmed pictures of terrorists beheading children. I never thought I'd ever, anyway, but there are countries in the region that are trying to be of some help, including Arab nations that are trying to be of some help.
Not just Joe Biden, who would have thought? We have Colonel Denis, defense expert, with us, along with Adam Scott Bellos, CEO, Israel Innovation Fund. Mr. Bellos, to you first. No one in this world would have thought that these Hamas terrorists would treat babies, toddlers in this manner. They would behead babies in 40s, 50s. That's the number that we're learning. How is Israel responding to this news? It's extremely heartbreaking, to say the least.
Thank you for having me. First and foremost, if you remember, for the last 20 years, at minimum, the BDS movement, leaders of the BDS movement, spokespeople of the BDS movement, spokespeople for pro-Hamas organizations, and the narrative that has always been laid against Israel for at least the last 36 years since the beginning of the first Intifada in 1987, they have always referred to the Israeli army and the Israeli people and the Jewish people as land grabbers, occupiers, and baby killers. So I am not surprised to see what I am seeing in terms of the acts of barbarism against by Hamas perpetrated by the Jewish people and the Israeli people. The Israeli people obviously came to the conclusion about this yesterday. It was confirmed early this morning, late last night. But as the Israeli people had it confirmed for them without the international news through other means of communication and news, we're obviously completely horrified at these crimes against humanity. And we find it terrible that it has taken the international media and the international world to condemn Hamas only after 1,000 dead Jews and 40 babies have had their heads chopped off. I mean, it is a terrible thing to have witnessed. The images are horrific. And we only wish the world had listened to us about the unspeakable barbarism that Hamas was capable of for the last 25 years, or at minimum since 2007 when they took over the Gaza Strip. As you know, they've ruled with an iron fist, and they have been brutalizing their own people, let alone terrorizing the south of Israel and the state of Israel since we left Gaza. It's a horrific thing to have seen, yes. And we're all quite devastated by it. It's the thing is that I would never have put this past them. Their barbarism and their brutality and their child abuse has been on display for many years. If you remember, they love releasing videos every summer of the terrorist summer training camps for
Mr.
children.
Anand, the thought of it is so very painful. Imagining that there were children, unarmed, innocent children, perhaps completely caught unaware that this was going to happen to them. Ammunition used on them, they were fired upon, some of them were beheaded. This is absolutely earth-shattering to hear. Colonel Denny, the Israeli Foreign Ministry says we debated whether or not to share these horrific images, but the world needs to know what we are up against. And there are those who are trying to say, look, Israel has been continuing this oppression for the longest time, and this perhaps is a response to the ongoing oppression for the last so many decades. But nothing, Colonel Denny, justifies this extent of terror and completely going against several layers of rules of engagement.
Oh, absolutely, ma'am. Just when we thought that we have seen enough of brutality by these terrorists, here comes something which was unimaginable. As an army man and as an infantry officer who has seen enough of violence, let me tell you that this is something which is unimaginable even for me. How can normal human beings? First of all, these people are not normal. They are barbaric. But even for people who are who maintain barbaric standards, for them also, how can you just behead children like this, kids like this? I can understand you taking on an army person or a government official or even a grown-up person. But how can anybody do such things in the sane mind? And that is something is totally unimaginable. No matter what the cost can be, the cost could be anything. We couldn't. That is not the point at all. Any sane person will not do it, and that is what I think Israeli people have. It's a fact that they would have debated because it's so disturbing for a person like us in India. So how disturbing it would be for a person in Israel, the person who have actually gone through. I don't think it'll be forgotten in a hurry. It cannot be forgotten. I don't think it is. The brutality is something which, and the worst part is, ma'am, since yesterday these news were coming in, and as you mentioned, there were people who were trying to give it a different spin that it is part of the disinformation campaign, and there was no sensitivity shown by many of the I must say the news across the globe. News people, they were not trying to give the sensitivity that we are talking of beheading kids here, and somebody has seen it as an officer has gone on ground. He's confirmed, the media people there have confirmed, and then even after that, to not keep the thoughts of the Israeli people in mind, yes, the people who have gone through that, I think it is a terrible act. But overall, I have never seen such a thing in my life.
Okay.